the White House officials say, that is, that the president, the people have had more enthusiasm than any of the other 7 locations for town meetings. 1,100 people were selected by lottery, coupons from the newspaper, and names drawn, naming 1,100 people to be at that town meeting hall tonight. That'll start at 7:30, run approximately an hour. After that, the president will meet with Democratic Executive Committee members for a short talk with them, and I'm sure they'll have some questions for the president. And then it will be on to Mayor Wade's house, where he will spend the night with the mayor and his wife and baby. The president's working his way down the line of the crowd restrained by a rope here to keep them from swarming around him. And he's probably getting a little chilly at this point without a heavy coat on in this cool air. President waving towards the press platform here and preparing to get into his limousine and head on in for his other activities in Elk City. One more wave to the crowd from the side of the limousine, now inside, joined by Secret Servicemen. President spent about 10 or 15 minutes here talking to the spectators and shaking hands with them. More time than was expected. It was expected that he would arrive at 6:30 and at 6:35 be on his way into Elk City. But he likes to mix with the crowds, and the crowd certainly enjoyed it here this evening. And now the motorcade is beginning to move along slowly, and they will wind their way out of the industrial air park here at Burns Flats. President waving to the cameras. And now pulling out of the runway area.
One, two, three, four. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. I can't see beans from right where we are, other than some people just came in, and that's about all I can tell. Nobody's at the podium. Huh? Whose audio do we have? Okay. Okay. I'm looking at Channel 5's monitor. No. We never had a meeting on this. I'm fine. I'm fine. It's okay. 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 I've got kind of a problem because Channel 5's monitor's jumping back and forth. But okay. Okay, I can see Don and I, and yeah. You see, they keep losing pictures.
NBC.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay. see Kennedy and Boren. Yeah, keep running the whole time. Shaw's out teaching the motorcade. Oh yeah, we shot in fact. Tractors though at the airport. They got a permit to go through it here. So they line the motorcade here. Yeah, Erickson is about he's quite a ways from me. I can't see him.
And while it's chilly outside, the large crowd on TV lights make it warm inside, and the president is about to arrive.
Ladies and gentlemen, the President of the United States.
Thank you very much. None of you could know how good it felt for me to come back to Elk City this evening to be with all of you. I would guess that during the campaign in 1975, 1976, that I visited more than 1,000 cities and towns in the United States of America. I never visited a single place that gave me as warm and as open-hearted and as exciting a welcome as you did then, and you have equaled yourself this evening, and I thank you for it. I'm particularly glad that Senator Boren's here, Governor Nye is here, Lieutenant Governor, Congressman English, your fine mayor, who was in the forefront of the welcoming committee when I was here before. As you know, I'm going to spend a night with Larry and Mary Jane this evening. I believe in open government. I know Larry does too. He tells me that every time he has a meeting of the city government, that it's open to the press. And I'm also going to be attending Sunday school and church in the morning, and I hope that all of you Baptists will be there with me. As a Baptist, as you know, I'm not very enthusiastic about gambling, but I modified my views somewhat when I heard they had a lottery tonight to decide who was coming to the meeting. The only problem is that nobody told me whether I was speaking to the winners or to the losers. One of the nice things about being president is you get to go to a lot of very important places. Just recently I've been in Mexico City, I've been in Jerusalem, I've been in Cairo, Egypt, and now to Elk City. And 3.5 years ago, November the 11th, 1975, I promised to come back as president. You helped me become president, and here I am. I want to say just a few words before I start taking questions. I'm here because of your friendship and because of a promise. But I'm here for another reason as well. I and all presidents make decisions every day that affect the lives of everyone who lives in our great country. We make speeches quite often trying to explain what we do, why we make certain decisions, take certain actions. But it's important that presidents listen to people also. Not just the ones that are able to come to Washington to express their concerns, but also to the farmers and the housewives, the store clerks, the school teachers, who never have a chance to get to Washington. Sometimes the very size of our country and the complexity of the issues makes people feel that just one person doesn't make a difference. I think that those who live in relatively small cities like Elk City can clearly see how your own attitudes, how your own lives do affect those who live around you. You can see it firsthand that unselfish participation and cooperation are essential to the success of your schools and your churches and your town. We need the same sort of cooperation, the same recognition that every person matters if we're going to solve the difficult problems which our nation faces today. We've always been able, in a time of crisis, to muster that sense of common purpose, particularly in wartime, but it's just as crucial in times of peace. President Franklin Roosevelt said in 1933, and I'd like to quote, "It is a mistake to assume that the virtues of war differ essentially from the virtues of peace. All life is a battle against the mistakes and the human limitations of man, against the forces of selfishness and inertia and laziness and fear." We especially need that spirit that Franklin Roosevelt called upon us to assume in 1933 in our current battle against inflation. The decisions and actions of all of us, government, business, labor, consumers, contribute to inflation. It's not a problem that government can solve alone, while everyone else continues business as usual. All Americans will either win the battle against inflation, or we will all lose the battle against inflation together. I believe that in a few weeks, we will begin to see the results of this common battle. I need your total support in this fight. I was deeply disturbed yesterday at the Consumer Price Index figures. A large part of that increase was obviously due to international commodity items, to world oil prices, to severe late winter weather, and other factors which were beyond our control. But those factors do not account for the sharp increase in prices for many goods and services. That inflation level is unacceptable, and those figures are a warning and a message to government, business, labor, and consumers. This must be a time of restraint. I've been very encouraged by the willingness of working people to join in this battle, but we still face a series of crucial labor negotiations. It's vitally important that those who are responsible for the outcome of those negotiations recognize their obligation to show moderation and concern for the economic well-being of our country. I expect restraint, and the American people expect restraint. Fueling inflation is not in the long-term interest of any American. On the price side, many of our very largest corporations, whom we monitor every day, seem to be complying with the program. But I'm very disappointed that many medium-sized and smaller businesses are not showing the same sort of restraint. Too many business leaders seem to feel that the anti-inflation program just doesn't apply to them, and the result is higher prices for everybody. I will take very firm steps to deal with this problem in the immediate days ahead. I intend to substantially increase the staff responsible for monitoring these prices. And we will also be working with labor and consumer groups and with you in a national price monitoring effort. I've instructed the Council on Wage and Price Stability to use its legal authority to get regular reports on price increases, all price increases, from firms in problem industries where prices are going up too high. We've already identified several companies which appear to have broken the guidelines that we've established. We'll be identifying others in the days ahead. They'll be given a chance to explain the purpose or the reason for their high prices. But I will not hesitate to identify those companies that violate the price guidelines so that the people of this nation can take appropriate action. An absolutely vital element in the fight against inflation is to restrain federal spending. We cannot tolerate ever increasing federal spending. I am committed to a balanced budget, and that's a goal I intend to achieve. And I need for you to help me with it. In the past 2 years, we've cut the $66 billion deficit that I inherited by more than half. This year, I've sent to Congress a tight, responsible budget that cuts the deficit even further. I'm determined to hold the line on federal spending this year, and I hope you'll give me your support. And finally, let me say that the problem of inflation is difficult, frustrating, terribly complex. It's been with us now for more than 10 years, but it is not beyond our power to control. For 30 years, many believed that the chance for peace between Israel and Egypt was beyond our grasp. But on Monday, our nation will welcome Prime Minister Begin of Israel and President Anwar Sadat of Egypt to the White House to sign a treaty of peace. We never thought it would be possible. We never thought it would be possible just a few months ago, but with courage and determination and cooperation, success is now within our grasp. We need that same kind of daily commitment, determination, courage, and cooperation to look at the problems that face our own country. The problem of inflation. These qualities have always been part of American life. And I know the same spirit exists among you and among other nations throughout this great country. I know that we have the will and the ability to win this fight together. And now, I would like to have your questions, and I'll start with the first microphone on my left.
Mr. President, I'm Jimmy Dillard, and I'd like to know how sound is the peace treaty whose foundation is built with $5 billion inflated American tax dollars.
This peace treaty is a result of 30 years of war and the lessons which our nation has learned from it. We have two notable friends in the Middle East, among others, Israel and Egypt. At this moment, they're in a state of declared war against each other. Thousands of people in each country have lost their lives. Our own interests are directly involved. We will provide part of the cost of removing the armed forces from the Sinai Desert. This is a very expensive proposition. The Egyptians have 5 divisions on the Israeli side of the Suez Canal. The Israelis have 2 divisions, 2 large airfields built on Egyptian territory. Israel is very much in need of economic stability. Their inflation rate last year, for instance, was more than 50%. We will help them bear the cost for these peacetime changes. The cost will run a little more than $1 billion a year for 3 or 4 years for both nations combined. Our nation can well afford it. It's an excellent investment. And I believe the American people are strongly in support of this very modest cost for peace, when the cost of war, even to our own nation, to our own taxpayers, would be much, much greater. I believe it's a very good investment.
Thank you.
Mr. President, my name is Danny Vineyard, and I'm a senior at